Humans were just discovered by the intergalactic community right after they defeated the Maw, a terrible species fueled by hunger. No one knows how they did it. That is why they called you to the gathering of great species, to explain how the humans defeated those terrible monsters. "How did you do it, human?" the leader of the Intergalactic Council inquired. "As a primitive species, on the galactic scale, it's really quite simple." "What do you mean? Our weapons are far more advanced than yours." "We have heard the stories of the Maw who flies down from space, not even needing a spaceship, and destroys planets with his hunger. But we didn't believe them until he came to Earth. He landed near the reservoir in Central Park and demanded food. Realizing the stories to be true, we knew our weapons would be useless, but the powers that be tried anyway. The Maw would simply turn up his wings and all munitions would explode on impact, not leaving a scratch. We quickly relented. The problem is he is insatiable and demands more until all the available supplies of food are gone and the planet's inhabitants perish from malnutrition. If you don't feed him, he will fly around terrorizing the city, burning down buildings and ripping out communication infrastructure, which cuts out the internet and really scares people. It was a state of emergency. Semi-trucks of food were immediately diverted to the Maw. All bridges into the city were designated Maw Deliver Only. As the trucks pull up, the driver jumps out and runs down the street. The Maw would immediately swallow the whole truck, taking in the food and spitting out a crumpled ball of steel that usually landed on Nantucket. A few hours into his non-stop feeding, a McDonald's truck was next in line. After spitting out the ball of twisted metal, he grinned and howled more. All McDonald's trucks in the country were given priority lane access, and all warehouses of McDonald's food were loaded onto trucks and sent to the Maw. As those supplies became depleted, we frantically brainstormed about what to send the Maw next to avoid the Maw's rage. We decided on Taco Bell, followed by all the Doritos, Coca-Cola, and Nestle snacks in the country. The Maw kept getting fatter, but something seemed off. He was becoming lethargic and slowing down his rate of consuming the trucks. His breath became labored and his eyelids drooped with fatigue. He was lying on his side, scooping trucks off the road with his tongue. He finished his 24th Nestle truck and then suddenly rose to its feet, clutched its chest, let out one final gasp, and then collapsed to the ground. "You don't eat that stuff, do you?" I asked the Intergalactic Council as they stared at me in disbelief. Humans were just discovered by the intergalactic community right after they defeated the Maw, a terrible species fueled by hunger. No one knows how they did it. That is why they called you to the gathering of great species, to explain how the humans defeated those terrible monsters. We have been eagerly awaiting your arrival. Now tell us, how did you do it? A greenish-purple-looking alien in clothes that resembled fruit more than any actual clothing had apparently taken it upon himself to cut right to the chase. "Hold up, wait a minute, what even is this place? Who are you guys exactly?" I responded. It was a strange concept to wrap my head around. To think that only an hour ago I was watching Netflix on my laptop with my cat, Mr. Tumbleweed. Or at least I was trying to, while my cat decided my laptop was, in fact, the perfect place to sit. Then, all of a sudden, I got beamed up to an alien spacecraft. I thought that would be the end of me, but instead, I quickly noticed that all the species I passed while being guided to this very room were admiring me more than anything else. Someone, who appeared to be the leader, added, "We don't want to be rude, especially not to someone who has the power to defeat the Maw. We are—" His voice started shaking. "We are just desperate." "The Maw?" I asked, feeling terribly sorry for the clearly distressed group of aliens, but I was still way too confused about any of this to be of any help. "We're so sorry. We only had about an hour of prep time before you arrived. We hoped it would be enough to program a translator for your species, but apparently some of the most important details still got lost in translation." He now looked more embarrassed than distressed. "But you're a clever species. I'm sure you will know right away who we mean." I was back to being clueless. "Well, of course, how foolish of us. A species capable of defeating the Maw must have also been victorious against a great many other threats. Let me describe them to you to refresh your mind. We're, of course, talking about the terrible species fueled by hunger. You know the one, probably the worst one your kind has ever faced, and to our knowledge, also the most recent one. I think you have the wrong species in mind. The only real threat we humans have ever faced in our entire history has been other humans. I felt terrible. We were their last hope, but what could I do? They had the wrong one. No, we're not talking about war. We're talking about monsters. Yeah, we don't really have those here. Don't hold me for a fool, boy. He was starting to get frustrated with me. We know for a fact you've defeated the Maw, and recently at that. We saw footage of your kind dealing with some of the remaining creatures. Maybe you saw a movie? Don't you think we know the difference between entertainment and reality? No, this was real, all over the world. We grow tired of your uncooperative behavior. Another alien appeared from the shadows. He had apparently been listening to our conversation from the dark corner of the room. We get that you are holding all the cards, but mind you, we're no fools. We know what you did. This one started to scare me. Probably the reason why he stayed in the shadows up to now. I'm sorry. I'm just a regular citizen. I really wish I... He cut me right off. Stop the act. He slammed his fist on the wall. There are lives at stake, man. We didn't just pick any human, but one we know for a fact came into contact with the Maw and lived to tell the tale. I don't. Need more to refresh your mind? The Maw, fueled by hunger, so much so that even when they are full, they still act like they are starving, destroying everything in their path just because they can. A creature so arrogant they think they own the universe. No wonder they found their match to an equally arrogant species like the humans. But and don't give me that lost in translation nonsense again. You know what the Maw is? We specifically used the Maw's cry as their name while translating to avoid any confusion. They say Maw. Only one species makes such a terrible sound. It can't be mistaken for anything else. Maw? He was squinting his eyes and suddenly walked up to me. Oh yes, and don't bother. There's no denying it now. He reached out to me. I flinched, not knowing what was about to happen. Either way, this had to be first contact. Behold, undeniable proof. This human has been in contact with this creature as recently as the moment we beamed him up. As I looked back, he was standing in the middle of the room, holding what appeared to be... hair? Wait, what was the last thing you just said, Utanaut? The alien in fruit-like clothes asked. The guy from the corner, apparently named Utanaut, answered. That this human has been... His eyes widened. Oh no! Massive panic ensued. How could we miss it? One screamed. We're doomed! Another yelled as they fainted. We have made a great mistake! Another said as they started backing into the corner. These humans didn't defeat the Maw. They became... Another one fainted. They became their servants! Utnaut finished the other guy's sentence. The only way they're allowed to keep on living. The leader spoke up again. Living? That's no way to... It suddenly became quiet. All eyes were now drawn to the hallway from which I entered the room. The council members started cowering in fear. That sound! That terrible sound! Someone cried, apparently having better hearing than me as I heard nothing. A shadow appeared in the hallway, becoming bigger and bigger when all of a sudden... Meow!
Humans were just discovered by the intergalactic community right after they defeated the Maw, a terrible species fueled by hunger. No one knows how they did it. That is why they called you to the gathering of great species, to explain how the humans defeated those terrible monsters.
They ate him. The council stared at me. You could have heard a fleagle drop in that interminable silence. Counselor Albidial cleared her throat. Then she cleared her throat again. Then she said, What? They ate them. Elaborate, I sighed. How to explain the inexplicable? The humans decided that the Maw were a delicacy. They poached them, I believe, in a sauce of butter and garlic, and served them with lemon. It would take a while for the translators to explain the ingredients. It would take longer for the facts to sink in. Counselor Albidial said, And the Maw let them do this? I said, The Maw couldn't stop them. The minute the recipe was discovered, the Maw became valuable. A web of industry formed to hunt, butcher, preserve, transport, cook, and serve them. It became very profitable. Counselor Schwarp gleevelled his garnacles obsequiously, wiped mucus from his throids, and gasped by means of a gas translator. Then the Maw are no more? They are all gone? I sighed again. Yes and no. Yes, the Maw, as we knew them, are no longer a threat. But the humans domesticated their species. They farm them now, like crustacean cattle. Counselor Jalililji fainted. Counselor Albidial opened her mouth, speechless. I said, yes, I know. Counselor Albidial stood there in awe. Counselor Schwarp frinkled his shambulator and scubbled nearer, his EM sensors congregating to bring me into his focus. His gas translator said, Counselor Albidial wishes to ask, I think, what we will do now with the humans. Counselor Shaztash giddily jittered. Perhaps we should tell our people to become distasteful and unflavorful. I said, that won't work. They eat things you can't imagine. There is no flavor they will avoid. They use a poison very closely related to the innate toxins of your species as a spice to add flavor to their breakfast. There is no class of life they will not willingly consume. Counselor Albidial was very dilated now. What do you suggest, then? What should we do? I said, provide cultural foods to them. Teach them the secret recipes of your people. Make your knowledge more palatable than your bodies. And try to hybridize with them. This caused the anticipated panic, but I let the titterwalling wash over me with patience, knowing that I was right. When order was at last regained, Counselor Albidial said very sternly, elaborate. The only taboo they have regarding food is a taboo about eating members of their own species, especially blood relatives. Counselor Schwarp scoffled deep in his scumbulus. His gas translator said, but what do they do with defective brood? You mean to say they don't even eat their excess larvae? They do not. Therefore, my suggestion to you all is to mingle and hybridize with them. It's the only way to shield ourselves with their taboo. If we fail to take up this strategy, the humans will be worse for us all than the Maw ever were. Counselor Albidial said, very well. We will bring the reproductive ships into orbit and seek fertile candidates. It is lucky the solution to our problem is so simple, if unorthodox. Counselor Schwarp scoffled once again. His gas translator said, surely this will only work for the species that resemble them already? What is my species to do? I have already met 34 humans who fetishize your species, particularly your garnacles, your Dangulus oblongosphora, and the bulbations of your scrupula. You will have no difficulty finding incredibly willing candidates for the hybridization program. Oh, said Counselor Schwarp's gas translator. I see. I said, we will want to move fast on this. The sooner we are merged with them, the safer we will all be. It is a statistical matter of time before one of them catches a whiff of one of us being burned by contact with a heat source, and one whiff is all it would take. May the universe have mercy on us all.